Okie, and we are recording. Welcome to The Actor and Agent with me, Jen, and usually Snishina. But unfortunately, she's not here today because she has a mammoth task of renaming files and doing all those kind of crazy things, the things you guys should be doing. But hey-ho. No judgment here. Anyway, so we have an incredible guest back. And it was only a couple of weeks ago, so I'm really excited to have Viv back. So welcome back, Viv Leacock.
Well,
how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you so much. That's a very nice intro. Yes, good to be back.
It's a lot shorter than the last one.
No, I take it. That's what I have on my ringtone now. I like it.
Nice. Oh, and for anyone who hasn't listened to the first episode or watched the first episode, go back because that's like the beginning part, and then this is like the deep dive.
Yeah, we have so much to say. We have a lot to say.
We have so much to say, exactly. So how have the last couple of weeks been for you? Because I know you've been filming since we last spoke. So, like, what have you been up to? What have you been doing?
Yeah, the world has gone and gotten even crazier. So on a good note, my son Lennox, who is the last one to the party. So there's three kids: Vienna, Lennox, and Elias. And Lennox was the last one to get to book a gig as an actor, and he's been auditioning for a while. And he booked his first gig on a very amazing independent movie called Reuniting. Powerhouse cast: Jesse L. Martin, Michelle Harrison, Roger Cross, David Lewis, Carmen Moore. The list goes on and on and on. A bunch of amazing actors from Vancouver and the United States, and he got to see firsthand exactly what this is, exactly what I've been doing for a long, long time. And one of the days we're on set, and it was about 11 hours that we were there, and he said to me, he's like, "Oh man, Dad, I see why you come home. You're so tired now." He's like, "I get it. This is yeah." He's like, I always saw it as the end result. He always sees you turn on the TV and there it is. It's all edited, and the sound's all done, and the music's there, and all. That's how he sees TV shows and movies. But to see it all broken down and and how actors come together and how everything gets worked out, he was really, really blown away by the process, and he had a great time, and so that was a good thing.
Nice. Yes.
And then the last few days, the world has gotten even crazier in that the discovery of this mass grave in Kamloops. Yeah, there was a.
Oh no!
Yes,
I haven't heard about this.
The government dug up a grave. There's these an indigenous kids grave. 215 indigenous kids were found in this mass grave behind this. They had these schools that they'd send First Nations kids to. The last school closing in 1996. That was the last school that closed. These things went throughout. They're all throughout Canada, and they effectively would take the children away from their families to re-educate them, in quotation marks. The Catholic school system, the Catholic Church would take them with the aid of the government, and 4,000 kids were recorded as missing throughout all the time that those schools were open, and they just found this burial ground of 215 children, some as young as 3 years old, and
my gosh,
that's what's happening right now. That is what is going on, and it's just like that's what's dominating everything right now, and
everything.
Yeah, it's this thing where a lot of times people believe that Canada is hands are clean of all this stuff. And I try to tell people throughout the years, like someone, I had someone ask me probably 6 or 7 years ago, is racism still a thing? They were talking to me about, yeah, and I was like, well, obviously not for you. You know, it's like, yeah,
No.
it.
I think you'd have to have your head in the sand to believe that racism isn't a thing.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
you'd have to
and I think
really
it's
have your head. Yeah, like be like, where? What?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't.
Where have you been?
I didn't belittle this person. I just was like, oh, it's still a thing. There was no way I was going to educate this person. Anyone who asked that question, unless they were 4, you know, this was a full grown adult. This wasn't even like a teenager. This is someone who was, you know, probably pushing 30 years old who asked me this question, and it was like, huh, okay.
So you mentioned to me via like text before, like how much you love British shows. Is there specific British shows that you're like?
Yeah, I mean,
and that you would love to be
on? There's a bunch of British shows that have been on, like a massive fan of Misfits, that show that used to be on.
Oh yeah.
Peaky Blinders. There's so many, but it's mainly the my wife and I were rewatching In-Betweeners. I don't know if you've seen that show, but yeah.
I've seen all the movies as well. Like,
Friends. It's just
up, Friends.
Like,
I'm sorry.
Come on. Like, there's just
yes.
There's just something about the UK sensibility when it comes to humor. It's so dry and so intelligent. Like, even something that might be deemed like lowbrow as far as British humor goes is like extremely highbrow in North America. It's just there's just something about the self-deprecation. That's the thing that just kills me. People in the UK are so self-deprecating. It's the best. It's like the best. Like, nobody really like, there's egos that are, but that same person who's like talking about how amazing they are, they will put themselves down so hard in the same sentence. It's just like, I just love it. I love it so much. Yeah. I'm a massive fan of so many shows. But
yeah, I know there's something about calling someone a bus wanker that just really hits home.
Yeah, right? I mean, and it's so
Have
hard.
you ever seen Friday Night Dinner, out of curiosity? Have you seen Friday Night Dinner?
No, I haven't seen Friday Night Dinner.
Oh, so it's got Will from The In-Betweeners in it.
Oh, nice.
And it's just all about this like Jewish family that have Friday Night Dinner every week, and it's just ludicrous. You love it. You love it. It's brilliant. It's on Netflix, so hopefully, I don't know if it's in Canada, but
I will find it. I've been watching. Was it Peep Show? That's what it's called. Peep Show.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people always like, oh, The Office, and I'm like, yeah, of course, the British version.
Of course, and the best version.
Oh, yeah, like. There's no comparison. It's a completely different show. I'm not saying that the people who made the American version of it weren't talented, but you can't call that The Office based on what I saw. Like, there's no way. It's just, and that's not even like, there's so many shows. I'm like forgetting half of them right now because I'm like trying to think of something specific.
And it's like, brr.
Oh man!
Have you ever considered like trying to get like or approach a agent out in the UK to see if that you could like dip into any of that fun stuff, or is that possible?
I haven't just because I just figured, you know, I got enough brothers out there, you know, to take down anything that I'd like to take down, but. I would.
Yeah, but with a cool accent. I mean,
I know. I mean, I would be. Oh man, I'd be chuffed. I'd be right chuffed to be on anything on from the UK, man. Any movie, any TV show, any comedy, that'd be like the best. But actually, anything. I'm not gonna say any comedy because that would be leaving out something like Luther with Idris.
That's literally like one of my favorites. Like Luther. Honestly, just.
Yeah. See, it's
just such a great show.
So good.
And it terrified me. On so many levels.
She won't watch it. She saw there's an episode where the dude was under the bed and she was like, no.
I was about to say that. That literally, I was almost like, I don't know if I can continue with this. This is too much.
She was like,
my worst nightmare.
She couldn't do it. She's like, oh my God, no, I can't watch this. And I'm like, it's so good. She's like, no, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
So good.
Man. No, it's so good. I know.
And I don't know, like what is the... Actually, I shouldn't say I don't know what. I'll say this. There's something about the casting that happens on UK shows and movies. It's just, I believe the casting way, way more. You don't see all the pretty people end up on every show. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're way more...
They look normal.
They look way more normal, way more believable that person would take that job. And that's what I need to... That's what I need to see. I need to see that more than almost anything. Like, yes, you can put that person in the lead position. All right, I get it. But I have to know why that person that looks that way is this thing. They would not be that. That person has more opportunities to be something else than that detective. I don't buy it. They would leave this small place and they would go off to Los Angeles or Miami or wherever, and they'd be something else. They wouldn't stay. I need to see that. I need to see the slice of reality rather than, the female officer who's the most glamorous model looking person that I've ever seen. Like, no, man.
Yes.
No, I know.
Yeah, she just came from getting her nails done, and she's like taking down a perp. Like, come on.
No, you're not.
I don't believe it.
In heels? What are you doing?
Yes.
Come on.
I know.
I need to see Broadchurch. Show me Broadchurch. I'm believing.
Yes.
I believe
exactly.
that. I believe that. That's my thing. The casting, the people that are put in place. That's my favorite thing about watching shows from the UK, movies from the UK. Just the casting is just way more accurate, way more. And they give the job to the best person. And it doesn't matter. It's like you were saying a while back about, if you're in the UK and you walk around, you just see people. Like I'll watch a show from the UK, and it's like so it's a show I watched called Bulletproof, and they're like, hey, bring in the murder victim's boyfriend, and the murder victim's a white lady, and they're bringing the boyfriend, and it's a East Indian guy, and it's like that would have to be explained in North America. In the UK, it's like, that's your boyfriend. There's nobody. It doesn't matter. It's fine. There's a boy. Oh, there's a black guy. Yeah, bring him in. Nobody has to. There's no explanation. You don't need to get anything. That's her boyfriend or husband. That's it. There's nothing else needs to be explained. And they don't look at this person because, he's a East Indian guy, so maybe he killed. No. They just do their job. And I just need to see more of that. I need to see... I think that's why I like UK shows and movies as much as I do. Even like foreign films. I'm a fan of that because they just seem to just drop the right people into the parts. Not to say that it doesn't happen in North America, but it's very rare that you see, people who just look like regular people on a TV show.
Honestly, I know exactly what you mean. And that was one of the things I found really weird watching TV when I was in Canada, because I was like,
really?
Like, I don't believe you. I've grown up with people with weird teeth and kind of buggy eyes and ears a bit big. And
I think about I think about a show called what was it? Robbie Coltrane show called Cracker.
Oh yeah.
They would never put someone that looked like Robbie Coltrane in the lead of a show. no way. There's no way that would happen in North America. But he was brilliant. Like he was amazing.
Yeah.
People that don't know who Robbie Coltrane is, he was in a bunch of the James Bond movies with Pierce Brosnan. That's probably where people will remember him from.
Oh.
I'm talking to my North American people. But, anybody from the UK.
Right, North American
peeps. But, everybody in the UK knows what I'm talking about. They know the show. I just want to see more of that. Because you can really get into the show when the person at the helm looks like what they would look like.
Yeah.
They just...
Totally.
Yeah. Even when you got someone like Idris, who is, this, super, super attractive man at the helm, but they surround him with people who are normal,
But there's like...
It's fine.
But there's also with Idris, he also has that kind of slight edge to him as well.
Yes.
He's been through shit,
yes.
So you kind of believe that he's a detective.
Yeah,
so you're
makes
sense.
Yeah, it makes sense that
and
this
he
guy
has that
would
kind
be
of
here.
swagger where he's like, you know what? Yeah.
But he puts he puts so much of himself away to play Luther. The Idris doesn't show up on that set being the guy he is.
Mm.
He pulls it all back. It's all a lot of subtext, a lot of layers to this guy. He's not flashy. He's not showy. He's just I love how he does. I love how he does that show. That's mystery shows and whodunits are my favorites. So I'm a big fan of that show. Yeah.
Actually, out of curiosity, one of my questions is that is there a specific role that you would love to play? Doesn't matter if it's already been made or whatever. Is there something that you would really love to play?
It's funny. My son just asked me that question, and I said yes. Eddie Murphy playing Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop. That role I would love. Peter Falk playing Columbo. I would love to do that. Which kind of lines up with the love of Luther because it's kind of mashing all that in together. It's putting it all together. Because for me, when I watched Luther, he's a lot like Columbo. He's not bumbling, but I think the people that he's chasing underestimate him. Just like a Columbo. But those roles... But specifically Eddie Murphy from Beverly Hills Cop, that Axel Foley,
of course.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Play someone who's very intelligent, who knows how to solve a crime, break a case, but the way they get the bad guys to make a mistake is by annoying them. I like that. I can have fun with that.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. Also, you have mentioned to me before that, but this was off air last time we chatted about the reason why you never moved to LA. Because obviously, a lot of people kind of think, oh, well, if you're kind of gaining traction in Vancouver, obviously the obvious step would be to go to LA. So is that something that you might plan in the future, or are you going to kind of stay rooted in Vancouver? With all three kids in the industry now, and the business being a little different than it was when I got into it. When I got into the industry, they weren't looking at teenagers as being the leads or the stars on stuff. It was probably... So I started when I was about 17, but I didn't act for very long. I acted for about a year when I first started. And I left it for some time and came back to it when I was about 20, 23. And when I left, they definitely weren't looking at anybody who was 17, 18, 19, 20. It was all about mid-20s and up. Those were the stars in the world. By the time I came back 7 years later, it had shifted. It started kind of being younger and younger and younger that they were looking at.
So I was on the tail end of getting in because I was almost deemed too old to be, someone that an agent was backing, because they knew that I wasn't going to get any traction with all the young, 18, 19. I wasn't going to get those roles so much just because I looked a little older than that. So it kind of created this, I had this false start kind of thing. I had to kind of now wait a while until I was in the category and I looked like I was in the category that worked for me, and then I took off. Being that kids can be stars right out of the gate now, I think the opportunity will probably present itself that we end up in Los Angeles because of one of the kids. I don't think it's going to be because of me anymore.
Yeah.
But I definitely did take a run at Los Angeles, but I decided that I was going to make sure that home base was set up first. And home base was my life with my now wife, who was my then girlfriend. I had seen too often that the pursuit of this thing a lot of times had come at a cost that I deemed too great, which was kind of like the loss of it's like the loss of yourself, of a life outside of acting, which I think, ironically, is the most important thing for an actor. I think if you're going to be a really good actor, you have to have a life. You have to have a great life. If you want to be a great actor, you have to try to put together a great life, or else you don't have anything to draw off of. Now you can act like that all day long. You can act like that thing that you're playing all day long, or you can have life experience and actually, pull something else out that nobody can see. I'll give you an example as to kind of what my thinking was, which is it all came around, and now this is an example that kind of encompasses what I think. So I've watched Leonardo DiCaprio, who is the same. Him and I are the same age. I've watched him since we were both kids. He started out as a kid actor. And for me, he's done some of his most amazing work when we both were like 17, 18, 19. Like, my God, some of the stuff that he did when he was that young it's phenomenal. And there's a point in Leo's career where his life experience didn't match the roles that he was portraying. Most specifically for me, when he plays a father. Anytime I see Leo play a father, I don't believe him. And the reason I don't believe him is because he doesn't know what that is. Now, maybe he's an uncle. Maybe he's a godfather to somebody, some kid. Maybe. But he's not a dad. And I don't know if you've seen the movie The Revenant, but I'll tell you. So there's a massive plot hole in that movie that if you put me in the same position to have, to be lucky enough to be in that position, to make that movie, to be, and I know he was it was based on playing an actual historical figure, but a massive problem with that movie was that he was avenging his son's murder. And the reason his son was killed was because of how stupid he was. Because they established early on in the beginning of that movie that the people that he's helping guide to go do their hunting do not like his son, to the point where they threaten his son in front of him because his son is indigenous. Now, he knows this. Yet they show him going off to go hunt by himself, leaving the son at the camp. It doesn't make any sense. There's no parent on the planet that would leave their kid with people who you know will kill him at the drop of a dime. These guys will do horrible things. You know that. It's not like you don't know who these guys are. You understand. And he leaves his kid. And his kid, obviously, he gets hurt. And they kill the kid because, of course, they've been waiting to kill the kid and blah, blah, blah. The fix and the easy fix for this movie, again, you put me in Leo's position, I'd be like, this don't work. This don't work. No parent on the planet's going to leave his kid with these guys. These guys are going to kill my kid. The fix is easy. You can still have that same movie, but the impact with the fix that I came up with, I think would actually serve the whole movie better, which is this. They go hunting together. The bear goes to attack his son. He gets between the bear and his kid, showing and demonstrating that he would do anything to save his kid, right? Which we see later to when he avenges his kid. But now he gets mauled like he does. The kid goes to try to get help. These guys kill the kid. Same story. Same thing happens. But Leo being... And if he was a father, I'm telling you, he would have been like, I don't know if this works. It would have happened because it's instinctual. If you're a parent, the way you look at stuff, it changes, man. And that comes because you have life experience. Your life experience is informing you that there's something wrong with this part, with this scene. And I'm watching this movie and I'm like, this doesn't work. Because I'm not seeing the motivation of I'm not seeing the motivation of a dad. I'm not seeing the motivation of a guy who's now again in the beginning when him and the son and the one of the guys get into it, he pulls his son aside and he's like, don't you ever, talk to these guys like that. These guys will kill you. He warns his son. He warns him of that. He gets mad at him. He puts him in his place for stepping on a line to just tread easy with these guys. Yeah, okay, that's great. But it's got to follow through. The logic for me has to follow through on every respect. And like I said, the little simple fix that I just threw out there, I think the movie would have been 10 times better had they shown that this dude would get between his son and a bear. I'd be like, oh man. Because now I don't have to guess. I don't have to wonder if this guy is going to avenge his son. I know he's going to avenge his son.
Yes.
Right? And then it works. For me, it works because, again, that life experience. When you become a parent, man, you realize, you recognize something, and it's like there's someone in your life that matters more than you. There's just that. And in a roundabout way, that was the thing that fueled my decision. And it wasn't to not pursue Los Angeles. It was, I had to establish a home base first. I had to make sure that was in line. And it wasn't because I was afraid to go to Los Angeles or afraid to be out there. No, not in the least. Or worried that I wasn't going to make it. That was I never had a thought in my mind that I wasn't going to make it. I mean, as evidenced with the I Spy story that I said, last time. There was never a point where I didn't believe that I was going to be where I wanted to be. But it couldn't be at the cost of what I knew was the most important relationship that I have. It couldn't be at that. Having, let's say fame and fortune, that doesn't mean anything if you don't have anybody to share it with. So I know too many actors that they put all their stock into to pursuing this career and not enough care and attention into nurturing a relationship. There's a lot of actors where they'll drop anything and anyone if a part comes along. If a chance to do what we do comes along, anything and anybody, gone. Yeah, and it comes at a cost. There's a huge cost to this game, and that's why I said before, man, you gotta love this thing. This acting, the industry will break your heart. I just think you're going to be more resilient if you have a life. If you subscribe to yourself, if you make yourself and your life and the people in it as important as you make your career. Because one of those things, one side of your life is going to be around for the rest of your life, and it's not necessarily your career. It can only, sometimes it goes so far.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not saying don't pursue your goals, don't pursue your dreams. I want to say to people that you got to consider things outside of this thing that we do, because again, that's what makes you interesting. I'll use Ben Affleck as another example of somebody who went from, leading man, kind of like they propped him up. This is early 2000s, propped him up, leading man, give him all these chances at movies. And all these movies that he did, like people were like, oh, this is terrible, they're not good. It's because he didn't, what did Ben have to say about anything? What was he doing in his life? What was going on? Nothing. And then Jennifer Garner comes along, cleans him up, marries him, they have some kids. This guy gets 10 times more interesting. He gets 10 times more interesting
100%.
when he had a life. When his whole world didn't revolve around movies. This is where he actually became interesting. He wasn't interesting at all before. And the thing that's so crazy is Ben Affleck's a very intelligent man. He's a very smart guy. He's well-read. He knows a bunch of stuff. Him and Matt Damon, they hang out for a reason. These guys are both very intelligent guys. And you see Matt Damon pursue a life with a wife and kids, and Ben Affleck pursue J-Lo and fame and fortune and blah, blah, blah. And you see, who got looked at in a certain way at a certain time versus the other. And like that to me, like right there, it kind of sums it up. You can go for the trying to be Brad Pitt. You can go for that. But I gotta look at the cost. Look at Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? I'm not. Now that's probably a bad example to a lot of people because they're looking at like, what do you mean? Look at it, Brad Pitt's amazing. I'm sure Brad Pitt would rather be some anonymous guy somewhere with a wife and kids and a family that was intact than to be who he is. I guarantee you. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. He's a father, man, and that guy always wanted to be a father. You could see it. It was like written all over him. He always wanted to be a father. But like Hollywood life and being a parent, a lot of times those don't mix, man. It's hard. It's hard. It breaks stuff apart, breaks families apart. Fame is it's fleeting, man. I don't know. I don't know. All this coming from I'm definitely someone who's not famous. I'm not on that side of things. So like how can I comment? I'm just going off of what I see. I go off of the fact that I see these guys, most of the like the heavy hitters in Hollywood, most of them have been divorced, if not once, a couple times. It's prevalent. It's hugely prevalent in Hollywood that's happened. And I don't know. You can, and so many people in Hollywood would trade in their fame any day of the week. They trade it in. Again, you can chase this thing and you can make your life all about it. But I've seen too many things. I've seen the cost be too great. I've seen people who put off having kids to the point where now they can't have kids because of this career, because of this life. I've seen it happen. There's there's no part you could get in any film or any television show that is worth you not being able to have a kid. There is no part that's worth that. None. And so many people, they put it off. I don't want to get pregnant yet because I'm on this show and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, damn the show. I'm sorry. Damn the show.
Exactly.
Live your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Live,
100%.
please.
100%. Yes.
like, what do you think we're doing here? We're here to do that. And I'm not to say, look, there are people who clearly have decided that they don't want to have kids. That's fine. But my whole thing is, if you're a good person,
and that's fine.
If you strive to be a good person, and I think Dave Chappelle said this, and he said this really right, which is, have kids, put your good ideas into this next wave of kids, people that we need. We need good people on this planet. We do. We really do.
Need good people.
If you feel you're a good person and you're with another good person, please have some kids. Please put some. I'm putting it out. I'm putting it out there, man.
Put
honestly.
that out there, exactly.
I know I'm a father of 3. I'm on the other side of things to some degree, but most every like star that I looked up to as a kid, they all had kids. I'm trying to think of like the actor or the musician or the athlete that didn't. When I was a kid, everybody had a kid. People didn't put stuff off till later. They lived their life.
Of course. And it makes them far more interesting. There's more depth, definitely.
I know you can wait for the best time to have a kid, the right time. I've seen it happen. I have some friends that waited, and financially they're set up and sound and all that stuff. But they got one kid. They don't got multiple kids. They waited. It's not an older person's game. Having kids is a young person's game. I'll tell you. It's tiring. it's tiring. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I can
imagine.
It almost feels like everything I'm saying is like counterintuitive to a lot of people who are in the industry, but I hope that there isn't anybody who's foregoing that life they could have to pursue this thing, because it's. I don't think it's worth it. I don't. I love what I do. I completely love what I do.
No.
I know I'm blessed to be a part of this industry, but it is by no means the centerpiece of my life. By no means, not anywhere near what I would say is the centerpiece of my life. I love it. I love doing it, but I love my wife and kids a million times more. And it helps you prioritize. It just, okay, you lost that part. You didn't get that part. All right. And I might be upset about that for different reasons now. Like, the loss of that part meant what it means is not anything about fame and fortune. It's like, oh man, that part would have made it easier for me to take care of my wife and kids. That is something that gets factored into the mix. But it's okay.
Exactly.
I believe in me that something else will come along. But, when you got people who are like, the loss of that part is like, oh man, has something to do with fame, has something to do with position and power. Like, that's not, it's a slippery slope. Again, people ask me about my kids and I just say, well, I can finally put a face to my motivation, because it's always been that. I've always been doing this. I've always been doing this for the kids that I knew I was going to have. That's how I started. That was my motivation when I first started. It was never about like fame and fortune. Maybe when I was 17, I wanted to be famous. But as I got into it and started doing it and had my first taste of actual fame on the set of I Spy. And it wasn't a very good experience. I actually experienced and obviously nowhere near the level of like what an Eddie Murphy might go through, but there was a morning on set. It was the first day we shot, one of the first days that we shot in Vancouver. And we'd already been around Eddie for a while filming, and the crowd, the general crowd, didn't know that this is the first day we're shooting. One of the first days we're shooting in Vancouver. Anyways, we're in the Pacific Coliseum, and we're doing this huge fight scene, and there's tons of people doing background, and I know a lot of people from the industry, and they didn't, people didn't know who I was playing on this film. Anyways, I walk out, and I'm standing, beside the ring, the boxing ring, and a few people are saying hi that I know, but nobody that I don't know is coming up to me. Eddie comes in, and Eddie and I are cool because we've been around each other. So he comes right over, hey man, how you doing? Blah 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 blah. We chat.
Totally.
Oh yeah. Crack a joke, and he goes to go do something else. As he walks away, like 4 or 5 different people start moving closer to me and try to start having conversations with me. Nobody said a word to me before Eddie Murphy came and spoke to me. But the second he came and talked to me, now they know, something up with this guy. It was like one of the worst feelings. It was because it was, you saw somebody trying to conjure up a conversation with you. You saw somebody, it had nothing to do with anything that I did. It only had to do with that I knew that guy. It had nothing to do with me. It was a completely selfish reason.
Yeah, it was totally selfish reasons. Like, it was like, he knows Eddie Murphy.
It
so
was very like,
that's,
and
that's so
that's
gross.
how celebrities
I hate
feel
that.
when
really
someone comes up and asks them for a selfie. It's exactly how they feel. They feel like there's nothing in this for me. It's like an interaction with somebody where they go, hey man, I really like your work. Big fan. That does something for that person. Oh, thank you so much. You asking for a selfie, well, again, that is strictly for you. That is for you to say something that, like, I met this person. Okay, I'd rather have a story like, hey man, I hung out with this guy. We chatted for like, a couple minutes, 15 minutes, because I didn't ask for a selfie. We were just talking about the world and stuff like that. That I would rather say, rather than like, oh, look at this selfie I have with this person. For me, again, like, I didn't ask to get a picture with Eddie Murphy until the last day we were filming. Like 40 days into hanging out with this guy, I never asked for a photo. No, because I didn't want to be a fan. I wanted to be a colleague. That's great. That's how I wanted him to see me. So, it wasn't even me that asked at the end of the day. It was one of my buddies on set who was on the show as well. He asked. He's like, "Hey man, get a picture of you guys." I was like, "Thank you," because I wasn't gonna ask. I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be around him like that, like a fanboy.
Yeah.
As much as I was the ultimate fanboy there, I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to be like that.
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly. Honestly, I know exactly. I would probably be the exact same. I find it really hard. I find it really hard because I'd just be like, if anything, I'd much rather, like you say, just chat to them, be like inside my head, being like, oh my effing God. And just being like really, and then being like, and then go home and be like, oh my gosh, I've just met so-and-so. And then just be like, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's that grabbing hold of people for a selfie that's so
hey, can we get a picture?
gross. You haven't even talked to them. You're just grabbing hold of someone.
Just, I don't know, just have that experience. I know you want to look back on it and blah, 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 but, so many people post that stuff. Like, that stuff bothers me, like, when someone passes away and all of a sudden people are posting photos, like, selfies with this person. I'm like, you don't know that dude. You don't know that guy. Well, come on, man. Like,
you don't know them. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that stuff. I'd much rather have the life experience. Like, again, I have this amazing experience with Eddie Murphy that is not documented because, we didn't have cell phones with cameras on them back in the day. It's not documented like that. It's not. It's in my memory. I know what happened, and it's in his memory. You know, like we spent a significant amount of time together, so I know I could come across Eddie Murphy. He's not gonna not know who I am. That's which is great, which is cool to me. So.
Because I did have some other questions, but obviously times are rocking, which is a great thing because it's been a lovely conversation. Actually, no, I'm going to ask you one more question before I do just like one more round. I will do one more question and then I'll do a random question, then we'll end up. But
Excellent.
it's just been very nice and free flowing, so it's been lovely.
Yeah.
I really wanted to talk about, because obviously you've joined When Calls the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously that's like 9 seasons, and you joined in the 9th season. Is that right?
8th season. We're starting the 9th.
Season.
Starting the 9th season in
right,
July.
Starting the 9th. Right. So I mean, what was that like to like join a series like that? So kind of, I know obviously you Peter, is it Peter DeLuise? Peter DeLuise.
Yes.
DeLuise.
Yeah.
So you knew him like through your brother since you were like young, but like joining a cast like that, especially when they're like 7 seasons already banked, what was that like for you, like to join a series like that?
It was somewhat daunting when you think about joining a cast like that. That's so established, you can kind of be like, oh man, this is going to be, it's going to be crazy. The thing that actually made it very smooth is you're coming into an established, position. You come into like an established program. It's a well-oiled machine and everybody knows where their place.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any kind of kinks to work out as far as like the hierarchy. There's always kind of a hierarchy on set. This person's been around for this long, so they expect to be treated like this and all this stuff. All that stuff had been worked out. They were kind of they were a very good unit that we were walking into.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the characters and the actors actually were doing the same thing almost made it easy. So the characters we were playing are moving into this town. They're new to this town. And they're welcomed by the characters. It was just the same in reality, where we're new to this show, but everybody that's been on the show has been there for forever. And they were it's an amazing cast of people. Everybody on the set is very, very kind. There are no egos. Everybody's super cool. And so it was much like going to Hope Valley. It really made the feeling very powerful for me. And the fact that I was taking 2 of my children along, and as a father, I'm looking out for them and their careers and how is this going to be for them. And I was really coming in not having to do much acting at all. Life literally imitated art on this for me to a huge degree. Everything that I experienced as Viv, my character Joseph experienced as well. It's the same feeling. You're coming in, you're meeting all these people, you're seeing how amazingly sweet everybody is, and that it's a safe place for your family. That's like literally what I experienced. My character experiences, and it's pretty singled out as this very unique, really lovely experience that I've had on a show, on a set. It's very singular. I did an episode of a TV show my brother was one of the leads on years ago, and that's the only other time that I've kind of felt a similar kind of feeling. It was but this with my kids now, and how protective you are of your kids. I have a lot of love for everybody on When Calls the Heart, just because everybody's been so kind to my kids. That just I can't I can't say enough about that, because again, you go back far enough, you might not be able to say that your kids had such a great experience on a TV show. You know, they were asked to cry back in like, I don't know if you've ever seen the audition tapes for like E.T., but
yes,
man,
they're intense.
You get these little kids that are sitting there bawling, and what they told these kids to make them cry was horrific. Like Spielberg told these kids, like, imagine if your pet dog died or something. That's what he's telling these kids to make them cry. I mean, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, all both actors laugh about it now, but I'm like, what the hell? No.
Yeah.
My kids had the best time on that show, and are excited to get back to do more. And
I bet.
Yeah, I'll tell you this about the show. Coming into that show, season 8, they hadn't established any African American characters to the degree that they were kind of pushing our characters. It was there was a sense that you go, you know what, you guys could have done this earlier. You guys should have done this right out the gate. Season 1, there should have been someone that looked like me, look like my kids, part of this show. We're talking about, to a large degree, it's Americana, North Americana in the 1900s. You can't tell me there wouldn't be a ton of black people around. You can't tell me that. Right? All right. Peter DeLuise said something that actually made the whole transition go a lot smoother for me, where he said, this is kind of an alternate universe in that in this particular storyline, World War I hasn't even happened. It's 1918, but World War I hasn't happened, and World War I happened before 1918. There would have been a completely different makeup of that whole town, where a lot of young men, middle-aged men, would have been missing because they would have died in the war. But that's not what happened. And so I was like, okay, you know what? If that's been omitted, if that's something that you're not seeing as evidence from this time, then it truly is an alternate universe. And if it is truly an alternate universe, then I can back off of the narrative that I was kind of creating, thinking that I was going to be an African American from our history of the world. And it's not that. It's not that at all. It's a different history of the world. Different things happened. Not everything is different. There is, a lot of the fears that my character and the character of Minnie, played by Natasha Burnett, a fellow Brit. Yeah. Oh yeah. You gotta talk to Natasha. She's great. Yes. A lot of the fears that we have coming into the situation and the way we were looking at it as the two adults out of the family, we then had to kind of wrap our minds around a totally different way of framing everything, and it helped a lot. It actually made it a lot easier to kind of it made it easier to do, because it almost seemed impossible if I was to think about it as far as like if the actual history of our world existed and I was this guy driving into a town full of people who no one looks like me. I don't know how long we'd stick around. In actual reality.
Yeah.
In actual reality.
Yes. Yeah.
If the world was what it was for real in 1918, and I drove into a town and I barely saw anyone that looked like me, we wouldn't be moving to that town. That's just self-preservation. It has nothing to do with how nice everybody was. That's just self-preservation, because the whole thing about it is any black person would know back then is this could go sideways real fast. Without anybody else that looks like me, no. Nope, we're not going to be in Hope Valley. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good that it is that alternate reality, so that it kind of does give you that all right. Yeah. Well, I can kind of
there was a psychological out that I could take rather than Because it was something that a lot of people asked me. Like, oh, how do you feel about, joining up, season 8? This is the first time they really, really are establishing a Black family. Like, how do you feel about that? And before I actually had that conversation with Peter DeLuise, I was like, okay, this is going to be a very specific thing. This is going to be a bit, because I hadn't seen the script yet. I hadn't seen the script for the first couple episodes yet. This was all before that, and I was like, okay, what am I getting into here?
Yeah, totally.
They did a good job with it. I definitely came away happy with how they made everything come together, and everybody involved asked a lot of questions. They were very careful to try to make things as accurate as possible, given given the universe that When Calls the Heart existed. So it was an enjoyable experience, not only because my kids were there, but because we were asked to collaborate a lot. So it was good.
Yeah. That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
No, that's really good to hear. So what we'll do a random question, and then we'll stop recording, and we'll just make sure everything gets uploaded, because obviously I'm aware time, I don't want to take up like your whole day. But it's been like an absolute, it's literally been a delight. So just want to say that.
We can do this every week.
No, you are. Exactly. Just like, maybe we just like create our own podcast, like Viv and Jen. What's up? Oh, that would be amazing. Okay, so random question. Well, this is just it's a stupid random question. But if you had an autobiography, what would you name it? What would your autobiography be called?
Oh, wow. What would my autobiography be called? That's a very interesting question. I think I think I made the right choice. That's what I call it. And actually, no. You know what? This is what I call it. I was my smartest version of myself when I was 18 years old. Maybe that's what I call it, because that's when my wife and I started going out. So that's nice. That's the smartest version of me, because everything that I have came from that decision. So
that's smart choice.
Yeah, that is the centerpiece of like everything that I have now.
Nice.
That guy not being afraid to I knew at 18 and a half years old that this is it. I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life. And to make that decision, in a time where you're just about to hit the world as an 18 and a half year old young man, you're about to, no, this is the relationship that I need to make sure, stays intact and grows and gets better. And so I think I'd call it something like, I was never as smart as I was when I was 18. Something like that. Nice.
I can literally hear all of the women that are listening to this episode being like, oh, like so
maybe.
But it's a good one. Yeah. No, it's a good one. Okie dokie. Well, how about bye on 3, and then we'll stop the recording and we'll just have a little chat while everything kind of sorts it out. So, all right, 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye, darling. Had fun.